Previously on Wine Wars. I watched the first episode.
Did you?
Yeah. Don't tell Ann.
What? Nothing.
Sensei
Nothing.
Wachowski's.
Over there.
Show.
She's sitting right
Why
there.
did you do that?
Because I was in a hotel room in Cleveland by myself.
Hi.
It's a great. It gets really good.
Are you guys watching it?
We've already seen the whole thing.
You really?
Scott and I watched the whole season.
Wine Wars, the show with four friends who love three things: wine and Star Wars.
Welcome to Wine Wars. You're joining the four of us as we sniff, sip, and talk about wine live from our basement in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm your excellent host and spectator, and with me as always are Amy.
Hey, Ann.
Morning.
Oh,
What?
afternoon, evening.
Evening-ish. Scott.
Good morrow.
And to you, good fellow. And Jason.
Good yesteryear.
Days of yore. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wine Wars. We're really glad you're here. We're doing an episode on Jason's worst nightmare.
It really is.
Hated it.
I'm kind of surprised that we're actually here doing this. 'Cause
I am too.
I thought he'd have a mantrum and just put his foot down and be like, no.
So how this actually came to be was just kind of off the cuff. Anne was like throwing out ideas. She's like, should we do Rhone or South Africa or something? And I was like, well, that's Syrah. Sorry, Jason.
And then it was done. The deed was done.
Yep, the
I had
decision
no
was
input,
made.
and then I saw the text, and I was like, "Damn it!"
We all knew you'd feel that way, but you were busy. We
Yeah.
knew you wouldn't decide.
That's
and
right.
then it was, there it was.
Majority
Syrah.
shareholders voted.
Exactly.
Yep.
But notice who's drinking as
He's
we
sucking
speak.
it down right now as we speak.
Yeah, it's not going
wet,
to
ain't it?
waste.
But tonight, maybe we'll convert you a little bit.
We're going to change your life.
We're changing minds over here.
I mean, I'll
over here
I'll
in
come
Wisconsin.
clean. It's never been my favorite grape. It could be because I hang out with your negative energy all day long, day in and day out, get no help.
You get no
Yeah.
help. Get
No.
no help over here.
It's definitely not a regular drink on our end either.
Yeah.
But
And it could be one of those deals where you have it once, you have it twice, you have it three times, and then you just,
Say
I'm
no
not into that
forever.
one, and you don't give it the love like
So
some
give
of the
us
grapes.
your Syrah backstory, Jay. What
yeah,
what happened to you
in
as
your
a child?
So
childhood?
there I was, a poor, very white orphan boy.
In Kenosha.
And that's all we had was Syrah, right? That's all we're pouring out.
It's the table grape.
Yeah.
Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Of
it.
Kenosha.
For some reason, I just see you like pulling this little rusty wagon behind you up a really steep hill.
Trying to sell your local
with
Shiraz.
your head down.
Shiraz here. No one wants it.
Like a little paper boy, like a little newsy boy that nobody wants to read your damn paper.
Whole town is lousy with Syrah.
Yep.
Can't sell it to save your life.
I don't know why I have this bad taste in my mouth. But I just have never been into it. And for Jason, he loves a big fat grape. He loves a big,
Juicy,
big,
plump
big
piece of
red
fruit
wine.
in your mouth.
And for some reason, Syrah is always like, "Oh, we've just gone one step too far here. This is just one step too far."
Too much fruit?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Too much
think-
alcohol?
I don't think it's ever been
I
a
don't
problem
think
for
it's
Jason.
Jason never says no to alcohol.
Okay.
and I think the wines we got tonight are a good kind of counter rebuttal. Just a rebuttal. Just a regular rebuttal.
A counter rebuttal would just be
rebuttal.
like, "I'm agreeing with you."
Yeah.
To that concept of that all Syrah / Shiraz, which is the same grape off the bat. It's the same grape, just like with Pinot Gris, Pinot Grigio, Grenache, Garnacha, same grape, two different names. So Shiraz and Syrah, it's the same grape.
We just learned something.
Yep.
Yay.
And we will be probably using them interchangeably tonight.
This is one of the funnest wine facts that I learned very early in my wine career was, oh, Shiraz, that's Australian. Syrah, so if you want to be a nerd at a wine party, oh no. Shiraz,
And what's the little
Australian.
clue?
Syrah.
to remember it. Australia is next to New Zealand with the
Z.
Shiraz.
Yeah.
Syrahs everywhere else.
So that's never been
Well-
my clue.
Oh, that's
But
always been my
thank
I think
you, Ann.
that's a fantastic clue, and thank you for educating us.
You're welcome.
Not to
So how-
not
Hashtag you're
to
welcome.
counter rebuttal what you guys just said,
So you're agreeing with us?
but correct. Actually, I'm anti counter rebuttaling.
Oh my God.
Dear God.
South Africa also uses Shiraz. So typically, Australia and South Africa will use the term
the
Shiraz.
term Shiraz.
Well, they're Southern Hemisphere neighbors.
They're really close when you're talking about it from Wisconsin.
Right.
Yeah.
France,
Which
from
literally we are.
from Wisconsin.
We are.
We're talking about it from
Oh
Wisconsin.
yes.
Go
yes.
Packers.
Go Pack.
Go Pack.
It's off
Preseason.
season. I guess go Brewers.
They're training.
Go Brew
Is
Crew.
anybody else watching Sports Center? Or
I've-
is it just me?
I've heard their training. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
But
Just you.
so the grape actually originates in Rhone, France, which is southeastern part of France. The name Shiraz, there was a town in Iran named Shiraz. There was lore that the grape originated there and made its way to France. But it was never really, it wasn't necessarily always established as to why the terms were interchangeable and why Australia decided to go with Shiraz versus Syrah.
I can answer that.
Okay.
Do you want me to answer it now?
I would love to hear this.
Well, the gentleman that brought wine to Australia was a Scottish fellow. And we all know how they are with the language.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe not as...
Shiraz.
Yeah. He's like, oh, fuck it. I'll call it Shiraz.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
One time I was stuck in an elevator in Glasgow with a Scottish guy. Stuck.
And Bill Murray.
Just me and a Scottish guy. And we're freaking out. And he's talking a mile a minute about, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
what
exactly
we're going to
it.
do or how we're going to get out.
You
or
have no
how
clue
we're
what
going
they're
to
saying when
pass
they
the
are
time.
on a rant. Just like, yeah, okay.
I had absolutely no idea what he said.
Yeah.
And the moral of the story?
I can see how they got Shiraz out of Syrah.
Right. Yeah.
Now we have to pay for that. But point being, France is going to call it Syrah. Australia and South Africa will call it Shiraz. And then everywhere else, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's kind of similar thing where we're talking Pinot Gris and Grigio, where the style that you get from the grape might follow the labeling. So we have a Syrah from Walla Walla, Washington, that is very similar to the Rhone style of production. So you can kind of base it off of that a little bit so something from California or the New World, it's kind of a crapshoot. So
So tell us a little bit more about the grape. Thick skin,
very thick
Super
skin,
thick
dark.
skin.
Really dark.
and it is grows very readily. It's not a one where it's Pinot is very difficult to grow.
It likes a very hot climate.
Right.
Which is why Australia makes a ton of sense why they can grow it so well there.
Yep. So a lot of producers have to limit the yield of the grapes on the vine so that they can maximize the amount of nutrients that reach the grapes, so that you don't oversaturate it with, dumb down the flavor because of all the production of the grapes on the vine. So it's very different from, as I say, like the Pinot or something like that. So,
But that
but
does
totally different.
that does kind of lead into the whole stereotype about Shiraz, Syrah in the first place, is that the flavor has been dumbed down by the big box production style and not a lot of complexity in the flavor. So
Right. So
it's gotten a bad rap, and it's like, well, it's because some people are giving it that bad reputation.
It might be me. I might be giving it that bad reputation.
yeah, maybe you have
Well,
just
I
give one
looked on
Jason
Google, and it's not
a
just you.
microphone.
Am I the guy from Sideways? Is that me?
yeah.
I am not drinking any Syrah.
Well, you're doing it tonight.
But there's something to it. It's really like it insists upon itself. It's a little inky. It's so bold.
It's like your
It's like
boisterous-
at an 11.
Yeah, it's-
Tone it down.
Like your boisterous college roommate that you cannot just, you're not going to ignore that person at the party.
It's like,
I think
dude,
that was
turn
me.
down your freaking Slayer music.
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
Okay, that wasn't me.
Or maybe like your really loud, bouncy George Michael.
Oh, that was me. That was me.
Yeah.
So, but the bottles we got today, we tried to go against that kind of typical Shiraz, big jam, things like that. We tried to show that this grape can give you a lot of different flavors and different styles. So, should we jump into the first?
Do it. Jump.
First
Jump.
wine?
Jump into it.
So, I picked up a bottle straight from Rhone. So, Rhone, France, is actually really interesting part of France in terms of its wine culture. It's not as well known as Bordeaux, Burgundy, which are probably your top two, Champagne as well, correct. So it's probably more akin to, like, in terms of fame, like Loire and Languedoc is probably at the bottom of the ladder, unfortunately.
Shouldn't be.
We'll come back
Maybe
to
not
that.
the bottom, but
Spectator
lower.
says no.
But wouldn't
Right.
we say like Chateau de Neuf de Pape is one of the most famous wines in the world, right?
Isn't
And
that a
that's
Rhone?
a southern.
That's a southern Rhone.
Rhone.
Yep. And that actually typically, so southern Rhone and northern Rhone are completely different in terms of production styles. Northern Rhone, the only red you can get is Syrah.
So are they about as different as like North Korea and South Korea?
Not quite that different because they don't hate each other.
Okay.
Because they are still French.
Just
Right.
checking.
But in northern Rhone, only red grape you can grow is Syrah. You have 3 or 4 different white grapes that you can grow. So you got Viognier.
That's a white grape.
That's a white grape, yep. Marsanne and Roussanne are the 3 different white grapes that, depending on which part of northern Rhone, you can mix in different percentages with your northern Rhone wine. So the one I got tonight was a Crozes Hermitage. So there's Rhone, again, is kind of broken down into lots of miniature sub-AOCs. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in northern Rhone. Hermitage, Crozes, and Côte Rôtie are the 3 big ones. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see that on the price tag when you get there. Mm-hmm. So
what's the biggest?
Hermitage.
That's that highest end?
Well, they don't have like a cru system in the way Burgundy does.
Yeah.
All of these AOCs in Northern Rhone are considered their highest production regions, their highest designations you can get.
So the whole country of France isn't even on the same page
No.
about
Oh, no.
the designations.
No.
Okay, so, wine's complicated.
Yeah, we'll come back to Rhone because it is really interesting and there's a lot to it. But the footnotes is Northern Rhone is where all Syrah is at.
Okay.
So the Crozes Hermitage that we have can be blended with up to 15% of Marsanne and Roussanne white grapes. What we have tonight, though, is just 100% Syrah across the board.
Well, that's not what we have tonight. They're not.
That's
100%.
what I have.
That's what
That's
we're
what you
drinking
have.
right now.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That's what. Yeah.
But what's Southern Rhone then?
Southern Rhone, so like you said, Châteauneuf de Pape is the most famous Southern Rhone one. Grenache really typically is the main red varietal in Southern Rhone. And Châteauneuf de Pape, you can actually have like 11 different grapes mixed together, where Syrah and Mourvedre are going to be the top 3 with Grenache. And then you can mix in a bunch of different ones. It's very much like a cuvee, like a champagne style almost, right? Where you go from all these different vineyards and mix them together.
That's right. Champagne gets around. We remember that.
That's right.
No
That
slut
was
shaming. It's just how it is.
a Wine Wars podcast lesson.
I always thought Rhone was Rhone, and it was all Syrah all the time.
Nope. Yeah, so we'll come back and get more in depth. We could probably...
Which is why this household never has anything from Rhone.
Well, knowledge is power, and now you're powerful.
Because somebody has sort of a stick up their butt about it, but we're going to change that tonight.
The one thing I'll say about this wine is I wouldn't, if somebody poured this for me, I would probably say Syrah. I don't know if I would have said it's French.
Really?
I would agree with that.
So I haven't said the producer or anything. So this is a Joel Robuchon. Is that how you would pronounce that, Anne?
Well, it's got an umlaut over the E, so I'm guessing it's Joel.
So this is actually an interesting story behind this bottle. So Joel is actually a Michelin-rated chef in France.
Ooh.
And he got
impressive.
together with Paul Jaboulet-Anet. I'll let you double check my pronunciation there. Who is actually kind of the well-known wine producer in Rhone. So Joel got together with Paul, and they kind of worked on this together, kind of like we were talking about with Larry Bird and
Oh, he's a basketball player.
right. What was that blend? Who did he work with?
Oh, Cosentino.
Cosentino. kind of similar. They got together and said, let's get grapes from these regions and put together a wine. So this is that's what we ended up with here. And like I said, it's 100% Syrah from Northern Rhone, from the Crozes Hermitage AOC of Northern Rhone. And like I said, typically in the Canada realm, we don't drink a whole lot of Syrahs. I love this bottle of wine, actually. Mm-hmm. This is, like when I open it up, I would say it's French in that it's delicate.
Right. Like if there was a multiple choice exam and the question was, which of these 3 wines is from France, I would have picked this one immediately because it's just got kind of this light and delicate flavor. I mean, considering all the other factors.
Yeah.
There's more earth to it than if you're looking at this compared to the other 3 bottles of wine. Mm-hmm. Yes.
A lot more mineral flavor versus.
But if somebody just
dark
poured
fruit.
it for me, I would have been like, I would never have said, "Oh yeah, that's French."
Right.
Just never would have.
What would you have gone with?
Because it's not. It
I would
doesn't
have gone
the
with like Napa or
barnyard.
Sonoma, but like smaller boutique vineyard because it's got like it's like an understated presence in the room, like the mafia bodyguard in the corner, or is that just me being weird?
Don
I see
Corleone,
that.
I want to thank you for allowing me to your daughter's wedding on the day of your daughter's wedding.
No, he's like doesn't have to say anything at all. He's in the corner. He's the bodyguard, but he's keeping an eye on the door. But you see that he's there. I don't know.
Yeah, so
I've been trying to place something for the longest time.
Was it that licorice flavor?
It could be anise, yeah, but also I think it's floral.
There's something green about this, though.
Right.
It does. So when I normally think of just French, the defining characteristic of French wine is barnyard,
Earth.
Earthy.
poopy, earthier smelling, and this is delicate, light, dancey, flowery.
So that has to do with the environment that this is grown in. So in Northern Rhone, it's a very small production region, especially compared to Southern Rhone. Northern Rhone is 1/10 of all of Rhone's wines.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a much smaller, limited production region.
So does
Weird,
that
because
mean
normally you think north and south, it's 50-50.
50-70.
50-70? So does that mean that since there's such a small amount being produced, that if you get a wine from the Northern Rhone, they're probably going to taste fairly similar compared to wines from Southern Rhone?
You're going to have, within the AOCs, probably more consistent, but you still have a lot of small, limited producers.
Okay.
So it's grown on very steep hillsides, steep hillsides along the Rhone River that are really pretty treacherous. We'll post some pictures online, but it's quite steep. All the grapes have to be harvested by hand. You can't get.
Yeah, I'm guessing no machinery, maybe a mule.
Yeah, exactly. It's all like they're just these big racks, metal racks that they're like dragging down by hand down the hillside, and it's all like solid, like kind of like with champagne, like the flint style. What's the soil
calcium.
type? Calcium. There we go. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Other really interesting thing about this region as well.
It is a calcium soil?
I believe so. I'll double check that and come back to you on that.
Huh.
But the other interesting about this Northern Rhone is very different from Southern. It's continental climate, harsh summers, harsh winters, foggy spring and fall. But you get, especially during harvest season, huge amounts of wind come rushing through Rhone because it's that soil you get a lot of sunlight on these hillsides, but the winds can get up to like 70 miles an hour. So when they're harvesting, it gets very treacherous to do so. But that wind helps keep the grapes cool so that they keep some acidity in it, so they're not getting over sugar in the production, and they're not getting cooked. It also helps cut down on disease, rot, things like that, and pests as well.
Huh.
So they really don't have to use any like herbicides or anything like that to keep pests on because it's so windy. So
That's really cool.
So really
Well, that's
interesting.
nice. Blows
Really,
all the bugs away.
yeah. So we'll come back to Rhone for sure. I think we'll have to do 3 passes on Rhone, one together, one north, one south.
Okay,
Easily.
fine.
All right.
Fine, I'll do
Twist
it.
your arm. So.
Yeah.
So make no mistake about it. This is still a Syrah, and it is tannic. So it's light, dancey, and delicate, but there's tannin to it.
I think that,
Right.
again, the whole thing with Syrah, big skin, huge mouthfeel.
And it's dry without being bone dry. Like, it doesn't suck all the moisture out of your
No.
cheeks.
It's very high acid for me. Like once you're done, like the water just rushes into my mouth.
Yeah.
And this is 2010, and a lot of northern Rhones, they're being built now that they can last 20, 30, 50 years.
Holy crap.
But
I could see this wine lasting.
They definitely say any of the big, well-produced Syrah can last 15 years pretty easily.
yeah,
You know,
And this is a 2010.
yeah, I would say out of the 3 wines that we drank tonight, this one's probably the most structural.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, this one was built to last.
right.
I mean, the French do it again on that.
Yeah, slam dunk.
so
Thanks, France.
just a few last notes. So in terms of flavor, I got like a little bit of cracked black pepper. As we said, that licorice, anise type thing, and that minerality too. There's a little, that kind of flint, limestone a little bit. All comes from that soil. So pretty complex. It's not just your jam bomb that you might be, if you're used to California or cheap Australia Shirazes, it's very different grapes.
I don't know what they recommend on this, but this, to me, this wine has become much more interesting in the 3 hours that it's been open.
Yeah.
So I guess I would recommend
Decanting.
it. Yeah, I mean, the first time I sipped it, I was like, yeah, tastes like a Syrah. I don't have any other complexity to it.
I just thought of a rhyme.
Okay.
When in doubt, air it out. Right?
That's good. That applies to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Gross.
Theo's doing it right now.
Yep.
He's airing it out.
Good boy.
So, any other thoughts on the Rhone?
It's a good wine.
So let's check in with
Says
Jason. Let's
the
check in with
Jason.
yeah.
Okay,
Wait,
yeah, back to
okay.
Jason.
Would you? So this was $20, $19.99. Would you buy this on your own?
I don't know.
I think-
if you're gonna spend $20, I don't know if I would buy it.
I
don't know
don't
if I
think
would.
Jason would buy it, but I think he would drink it
But-
if somebody else bought it.
But hey,
Yes.
you're goddamn right. I would.
yeah. All right. Well, that's
but
saying something, though.
Yeah.
Because there's wines that you wouldn't drink. You'd be like, water, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a good wine, and I think that again, a pairing. If we're talking about eating it with food,
Right.
they always say big meats. That you would definitely say, okay, I'm gonna have a steak or I'm gonna have a, some big game. This would be a good wine with that for sure.
It would. We had some venison the other night, and I wish that I would have saved it and had this wine with it because I think that the pepperiness of it would have gone really well. Oh, well.
We have a couple of vegetarians here who are not commenting, if you'll notice.
Sorry,
But
I'm a vegetarian and a millennial.
And
I
they're-
am the worst.
I mean, my wife's a vegetarian, so I'm like 80% a vegetarian.
Yep. Amy and Jason are the meat eaters.
But when I do get to have a glass of big, huge red wine with a piece of meat, it is literally like stepping into heaven.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's the
what
best.
happened to this podcast has gone off the rails.
It's because you guys are vegetarians, and
Right,
she and
so,
I
like-
are really having a good
like,
time
we're bonding.
thinking, like we're salivating
You're
and
imagining.
thinking
I know,
about
just
meat
like
and wine.
A big hunk of meat in our mouth with a big mouthful of wine to
I mean,
wash it down.
Some of us might be thinking different things.
Right, you know.
I've just been thinking like quinoa.
You know what you're gonna want with your big, huge red
Millet.
wine? You're gonna want some
Millet,
millet.
Teddy
You're gonna want
millet.
quinoa.
You're gonna want
That's
some
really good. Oh,
solid grains. You're gonna want your grains.
God.
Right.
Roughage.
Some
Make
soy
it poop.
burger with vegan cheese.
Let's go to Australia.
We
All right.
should go to
Shiraz.
Australia. I have a lot to say about it, so I hope I don't bore you. And if I run over, we'll just fix it in post.
Whoa!
I Shiraz too hard. Sorry.
So I'll just start off by saying that Australia is the world's 4th largest exporter of wine. It's 14 times the size of France, except for the little fact that 90% of the wine is grown in the southeast corner of this continent. So they're kind of up They're
Oh,
playing
man.
up the size of their continent. It's mostly like desert and grassland.
So in terms
right
of
in the
percentage of actual vineyards to land
center. Right.
mass.
They're like, well, we're bigger than France, but we
In
only
terms of
make wine in this
agricultural
tiny
output.
little corner.
Right.
They don't tell you that.
Well, and
so
that's
much.
because that's the cooler region of the country. You can't grow
Right.
it.
And when you think about it, it's in the southern
Central.
hemisphere. It's closer to Antarctica. It's cooler down there. It's a more temperate climate. It's not tropical, subtropical. So you're going to have a better growing environment for the grapes.
This is something I actually don't know. Where in Australia is the wine growing region?
Well, let me describe it
South.
to you. So here's a little
West?
geography lesson, crew. Australia is 6 states, and basically there's 1/3 of it to the west. That is, I think it's West Australia. I can't get all the states right. And then in the north central hunk is the Northern Territories, and then there's Queensland in the northeast, I believe, and then Victoria in the southeast corner. It's a very tiny little nugget. Victoria is it's the smallest state by a long shot. And then we have Southeast Australia, which is the name of the state, and it's in basically the south central chunk, like a
So the
little
southeast
square.
is in the south central. Mm-hmm. Okay, sure.
Yep. And
So like Melbourne, Australia, right?
no, it's where
Sydney.
Adelaide is there.
Oh.
Melbourne is in another state.
That's
All right. So I'd also like to mention a quick note about the Australians is that they like to, kind of make up their own words for things,
Yes.
such as, well, everybody else calls it Syrah. We're going to call it Shiraz because that's what we do down here.
I love that.
Down under. We do it all way.
I think I would really get along with Australians.
I think so too. Now, in the early 1600s, they were discovered by the Dutch, and shortly after, a penal colony was settled there. So that's
Penal colony.
right,
She said
penal.
penal.
I'm all about the penal, right? So so you have this land that's just naturally gravitating towards people with this rebellious streak in them anyway. So they're like, I'm going to call it whatever the fuck I want, and I'm going to call it Shiraz, right?
Nice, yeah.
So that brings me to the name of the wine, which is called the Chook, right?
Chook.
Chook,
CHOOK.
right? And that's
The Chook.
Australian for chicken.
Oh,
But we're not going to call it chicken.
days.
Talking about penals.
We got to call it Chook because we don't give a fuck. So I love you, Australia. I love that you do things your way and you're like, meh, to the rest of the world. It's awesome. Okay.
So this wine is completely different.
Totally different.
Jinx.
Totally. And one really interesting thing about the landscape of Southeast Australia, and Australia in general has really flat landscape. It's like the oldest continent out of all of them. The fertility of the soil is, when you look at the whole wide world, not so great. It's kind of like at the bottom rung of the ladder. The landscape is very flat. There's no steep hills in this area. So
How would one grow grapes in
I
a
know.
flat area?
You
That is
wonder
crazy.
about that. The area that this is grown in has soil that is, it's described as, I had it right here. It's called podzolic soil.
What does that mean?
It means that this soil comes from, it's a result of cool temperatures, higher humidity, and it's covered with primarily coniferous vegetation and heath. And heath is open landscapes of hardy shrubs and coarse grasses. So you'll see heath in England too. It's just,
That's what I picture.
yeah, just something for like a harsh environment, that can take a lot of wind and rain. Just it can take a beating, basically.
And that's the region where this came from? This wine?
It's a Mediterranean climate, Mediterranean temperate, and very close to the ocean. Adelaide's right there, so just basically south central. Well,
Oh, so it's here. Well, okay. Let's talk about the wine.
yeah. So this is actually not 100% Shiraz, Syrah. It is 96% Shiraz and 4% Viognier, which is a white grape. And that's introduced to give a deeper color, more supple tannins, and also enhance the bouquet with a little bit like like sweeter stone fruit, like an apricot scent. So
Yeah, because definitely far more, like I would say, like cherries, ripe cherries on this.
Ripe is the word. I was gonna say green, ripe, and it's a way brighter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you just smell it and you salivate.
Yeah.
bright was my number one keyword on our tasting notes list. So I have bold without being in your face, medium long, spicy finish, fruity.
Very different than the French.
Spicy finish.
Yeah.
It's savory.
Yeah.
And it almost has a mouthfeel like an unfiltered Pinot. It's soft on the palate. It's thick and soft.
I think that they normally characterize Syrah as being soft and velvety.
It's kind of seductive that way.
Totally has that.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah, very different.
Like, I would definitely drink more of this. I don't know.
It's a lot lighter than the Rhone. Are
Less
you looking to see if my opinion?
Yeah,
Is that what you want?
like would this be a Canaday household, a Casa di Canaday?
I do like it.
Repeat
I prefer the
guest.
Rhone over this, just because the Rhone I think is a bit more delicate and complex and has that stone
Yeah.
flavor to it. This is I totally get why you like this, and this is I think a great summer wine because of the fruitiness to it.
Yeah.
It's got like a little methanol to it and like a little almond almost.
Well, and that might come from the soil that is enhanced by the coniferous plants, cone-bearing plants. So pine trees. Piney.
Actually, when you say almond, it's like I think of almond extract, which is a sharper almond.
Right.
I get that.
But like this one, I could drink it by myself, and I think that the one from France, I'd want to have it with food. And that's probably the reason why Scott and I have differing opinions, because generally, like, I like to have a glass of wine when I'm writing a book alone in my room. And
I'm listening.
and when he and I are sharing wine, it's usually over a meal. So
Yeah.
So this was $18. Good price for it as well. All of our wines are around that 18 to 20-ish
This
range.
I've had of Syrahs. I've had the most Shiraz, I'd say, and
Australian?
yeah,
or South American,
Africa.
South African.
Chile, actually, well, while you brought that up, Chile is now starting to do a lot more production as well with Syrah.
What's Chile calling it? Syrah?
I think they listed as Syrah. It's
I
it's
think
really
they
up
would
to the
because-
producer. It's up to the producer how they want to label it and their production style.
I'm just thinking that since so many French producers are going into Chile, that they're going to call it Syrah, whereas Australia, their founding wine godfather, if you want to call him that, or father of wine in Australia, came from Scotland. And so what that means for Australia is that most of their growers are either British or German. So there's not a lot of French or Italian influence. But this gentleman from Scotland brought French and Italian vines down there,
Sure.
and then had a heyday and was like,
just added a Z.
working out great.
This is what's so cool about wine, to think about what a German or a Scottish producer in Australia. There's just a culture about those three nationalities we named versus French. And I swear it comes through in the wine. It's less nuanced and finessed, and it's just more like, here it is, in your face.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just
and
interesting that-
knowing that the Germans had a huge part in bringing their grapes to Australia, it made a lot of sense, because I learned that back in the 1970s, white wine in Australia was so popular that they were ripping out some of their oldest vines of Syrah and also
white
Grenache.
wine?
Because that's who their growers were. So
Wow.
yeah. Anyway, things have changed, and now Syrah is their number one grape in the entire country.
So you were going to say something about
I
you
was
drink
just-
a lot of Australian?
yeah. Of the probably the Syrah grape, I've probably drink more Shiraz than anything else, and this tastes like Shiraz. There's definitely a
Yeah.
terroir of Australia that is totally a good representation of that.
Yeah.
It is. It's big and bold, but it's not like overwhelming. It's not like, God, this guy's annoying. Get him out of my face already.
But I'm finding every time I take a sip, what I do is I suck my cheeks in like a fish, like
Oh.
you're making fish face, and like,
Like you're taking a selfie?
Yeah.
Duck face.
I'm sucking my cheek. I mean, it's still
Oh, it's big.
it's still big and tannic.
I love it. I
It's-
really do.
It's lighter than the French one. I really like it as well.
It's good.
The reason we got this one, because in Australia, if you go to your wine shop, there's going to be a bunch of Shiraz to pick from. And the reason we got this one in particular because it did have the Viognier in it, which is akin to the actual Rhone production style. Like I said, so the Côte Rôtie region, you can have up to 20% Viognier in it. So it's kind of playing within that same world,
Yeah.
right? But because of that terroir, like you're talking about, the region it grows, just completely different flavors. It's bigger and bolder. And of the three, this one is where I'm like, yep, that's a Shiraz for sure.
Yeah.
So
The
We should talk about what we had for dinner.
sure.
we should.
sure.
So,
So we have a couple of vegetarians, as we always say,
Sorry.
daily here
You're welcome.
on this podcast, and so we had we thought, what's the best substitute? So we had portobello mushrooms, and we went. So I thought portobello mushrooms, and then I thought,
Grilled.
how are we going to make it better? Grill it,
Yep.
and then we'll do a little marinara. So we made little portobello mushroom sort of pizzettes.
it was almost like a little pizza.
Yeah.
Fresh basil from the garden.
Yep.
Fresh cherry
Mozzarella.
tomatoes from the garden.
Yeah.
Corn on the cob,
Sweet,
grilled.
sweet corn on the cob with little white kernels in it, which makes it so sweet and good.
So good.
And then
Oh,
Amy
I think
whipped
the
it
rock
all
star.
out.
No,
Yo,
come on.
you did with these long green beans. There's a name for those, but they're super
I think they're
extra
called long beans or string beans.
I think they're called long beans.
Okay,
You're right.
because they're very long.
Or long string beans.
And they're
Right.
dense. They're like meat.
they are.
Like, arr,
I've
arr,
never actually
chew.
had them before, and I was so impressed. I'm like, I need to make these part of my regular diet.
They were awesome, and we cooked them up with lemon and garlic.
Super much garlic, super much lemon.
You know what's a great way to ruin a meal?
Yeah.
Add parsley to it.
No, you don't like parsley?
You know,
Can't
I'm with
stand it.
Scott on parsley.
I
No!
hate it the
Yeah.
way some people hate cilantro.
Yeah, for me,
I
love
put
cilantro.
parsley in those. There's a recipe I make that no chicken stew, the chicken and dumplings with no
But it's,
chicken
it's,
in it.
It's not overbearing though.
No,
Like it's not like
Dumplings with
raw.
No chicken. That's so
that,
Madison.
okay. Then I know chicken and dumplings with no chicken. We're totally
I
mad.
mean, we're just gonna have no chicken and dumplings.
Right, but okay, you know
So
what?
dumplings?
If you can deal with that amount of parsley in those dumplings, I don't think you dislike it as much as people who hate cilantro hate cilantro.
But there's a thing about parsley is it's so crunchy and like get out of my teeth,
Why are we
goddamn parsley!
Why are we talking about parsley?
I don't know.
I've had it a couple times in the last few at work. They have little snacks that
It's
like.
like a full blown assault.
Well, hang on.
Parsley and Syrah, get the fuck out of my house!
God, so much hostility. It's all coming from the meat eater.
It's first world hostility.
Yeah.
I know,
So the reason I brought up parsley is
Poor-
at work you can get little quinoa salads that has parsley in it. I'm like, oh, you ruined it.
I think that this
is the
a
weirdest
separate
conversation
issue
that'll
that you
ever
need to take
happen.
up with your employer.
Yeah. This is a hostile work
That in
environment.
your performance review.
I'm being assaulted by leafy
Parsley.
greens.
I'm ready for Washington.
All right.
Walla walla.
Walla Walla.
Part of the reason I got excited about this was we hung out with a wine rep from the Mercer Wine Company, hashtag Mercer State, and she brought some wines from Walla Walla Valley that were awesome. So when I was at Square Wine Company and asked for a wine recommendation, she brought this Walla Walla Syrah, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is all about. I don't have too much to say about the vineyard or but it's the producer, yeah. But it's Amavi. You think that's how you say that?
Amavi.
so.
Amavi. Amavi.
Amavi Cellars, and it's a Walla Walla Syrah from 2012. But their website is awesome.
Oh,
If you're a wine nerd, it has like just
I'm
every
married to a wine nerd.
yeah. And I wish every wine had a wine website as
Yeah.
thorough as this. Like they give everything from smells to tastes to
Weather,
what the growing
probably.
season
Yeah.
was to
yes.
what their
Thank
oak was.
you.
So
We love that.
Merci.
We
Yeah.
do like
Yeah,
that.
mine, I couldn't find anything like that.
I just wish every bottle of wine and every vintage was cataloged like this, because wine specifics.
I want this to be my job.
Yeah.
Somebody
hire
hire me.
Anne for this to be her job.
Right, you can track the weather that year, and if there were any hailstorms,
I'm on
and then,
it.
concurrent bug infestations as a result of damaged grapes.
I don't know about bug infestations, but everything else.
But everything else.
It's like, do you have a vineyard dog? Yes. Okay, I'll be there.
I'll interview him.
But
Sounds great.
these are notes that the winemakers are taking anyway, right? So
Yeah.
why not log it in this 2015
Because
era?
we care. We
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah, there are people
I wanna
that
know what I'm
get off on this
tasting.
kind of thing.
So
I'm off.
So let
I'm
me
getting
just
off.
read a couple of the things that are on here.
Ooh.
So the varietal, 98% Syrah and 2% Grenache.
Okay.
Makes sense, right?
Oh,
So
sure.
Rhone style.
Grenache,
Yummy.
yeah.
The vineyards. It gives 4 or 5 different vineyards, and it says the percentage for each vineyard.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Then it says appellation Walla Walla. Then the oak, 100% oak, 98% used, 11% brand new. Harvest,
That does not add up to
Wait,
100.
yeah, what did you just say?
Yeah, 50,
88.
70.
100% French. Oak.
Oh, French.
98% is used, 89% is used, 11%
11%
Okay.
is new.
You were just so
Okay, yeah,
excited
sorry.
you're tripping over your words a little.
That happens to me every time I open my mouth.
It's so cute when you nerd out. And you are looking like a schoolboy tonight, so I guess that figures.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's dressed like Angus Young from AC/DC.
He's got his socks pulled up.
And all I can do is
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
moving on. It gives the harvest
2,
dates. It gives
3.
the alcohol, 14.6%. It gives the
I like
total
that they're
number
not
of cases
0.5.
produced.
Do you want us to leave you alone with the
0.6.
internet, and you can just...
I'm just gonna read it to you. Read you the whole internet. But this, it was.
That's what you want. Wine producers listening to the Wine Wars
Yeah.
podcast. Nobody. Please do that.
I think it's a really helpful. It's a really helpful thing to get all of that nuance.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
especially the weather of the year, and why is that important to the wine?
Right.
And this
It's
year
to- 'cause
happened to be like a nice. I mean, it was hot and wet,
Who doesn't love that?
but not too hot and wet. And this is what Syrah wants.
Right.
Yeah.
And it helps educate the consumer why spending $18 over 10 gets you something a little bit different.
right.
Like,
Even if it's like the
Yes.
difference between
Yes.
same bottle, same vintner, 2 different vintages,
Right.
2 different years.
Right.
It's like, well, I know that 2012 was awesome because I read the notes on the
Right.
producer's website.
and you're getting more for your dollar by them listing that on their website. It's the whole experience with wine is the whole knowledge consumption as well as the actual enjoyment of the wine,
Right.
sharing it with friends and things like that. So that has to be a staple moving forward. I see a lot more doing that.
Yeah.
The other thing is,
I
from a
think-
business standpoint, is I don't need to know that it was the best year ever. Just tell me what kind of year it was, and I want to taste it to appreciate what happened in that year. I want to taste drought. I want to taste flood. I want to taste it, and I'm willing to pay more because you're telling me what to expect from that year or what
Right.
happened, and that's not the same as saying it. You don't have to tell me every year was the best year ever. I'm willing to pay for the knowledge.
Right. Well, you know what it is, Anne? It's that we want the story.
Yes,
And that's what wine gives us as opposed to beer, where it's like, it's all the same. You know exactly what you're going to get.
I bet
it's
beer
very
people would argue
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
You can't
I'm going
say
to take.
that at all.
All right, I'm going to take that back. Sorry, beer people. I mean, like
Major beer
Coca-Cola.
production.
yeah.
If we're talking Miller's Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Miller.
pluralized.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
plur-
talking.
You are not a Wisconsinite if you're going to make a possessive on Miller.
All right.
I thought it's not Miller's
I'm not
Light.
talking about like Great Dane, Capital Brewery, et cetera, et cetera. I'm talking about like the Bud Lights, the Coors. It's just like you drink it anywhere across the
Bud
country.
Light.
It's going to taste exactly the
Pabst.
same no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
But you get a bottle of wine from a different year, from a different location.
Yeah.
Same grape.
Tell me what up.
It has a story.
Yeah.
You know, and you taste that story every time that you pop the cork.
So this is a 2012. So it's the youngest of the three wines. So I don't know if we said on the Chook is a 2013. That was the Australian.
Right.
So this one,
And that one actually is structured to be cellared a little bit longer if you'd like to.
sure. So, but with this one, it's not as bright as the Australian. I get like a black currant plum smokiness.
I got dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody said cinnamon, and holy cow, that's all I can taste now. Almost like if you went into your spice cabinet and swallowed a teaspoon of cinnamon,
Like pie
the way
spice.
you would expect it to feel at the back of your palate, where it like dries it out.
Sweet spices.
It's almost got like a mulled wine scent to it now
Yeah.
that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said cedar and like
Cedar.
it's got that, I don't know what that is, dank kind of feel.
Which, hello, is Pacific Northwest. Not, and this is on the other side of the Cascades, but that's how it tastes.
Which we were in Washington a few years ago. That it was super interesting how different it gets from the coast to
all
Walla
the
Walla.
microclimates.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're on the
Yeah.
other side of the mountain. It's
totally different.
you don't
arid.
get the air coming in off the ocean.
No, you've got that mountain range blocking all that air.
This I want to go to Walla Walla and I want to go to this place because it looks like just a gorgeous.
Land.
Well, the tasting room and the
Oh, the
winery
building.
look awesome. And it's 100% estate wine, and it's 100% sustainable. So they're super into the organic farming sustainability
That's why
part
I
of
love the
this.
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
The way this website and this tasting room looks, it's like, okay, we need to book a trip to Walla Walla Valley.
Yeah.
Because of the two experiences that we've had over the last couple of weeks, it just
Oh,
homesick. I want to
spectacular.
go there.
I
as Amy was
haven't
saying.
spent enough time in Washington State, so I'd really like to go back.
To me, I don't know what to make of this, but what I want to say about these three wines tonight, which I know we've had three killer wines, is that this one is the most, I don't know, like interesting to me. There's the most to say about it. I'm getting the most levels of taste out of it.
So it got the
Which I'm probably supposed to be saying that about Rhone,
You know,
but I'm not feeling it
I
as much
think-
as this.
I think that this Walla Walla has changed. I think it's had the greatest transformation since being opened compared to the other two wines. Because when we first opened it, I tasted the alcohol right away. And
Yeah.
and now it's more balanced now that it's been open and decanted, or
Yeah.
it had some oxygenation.
Well, what it says, though, what Wine Wars podcast lesson for listeners is that Washington is a spectacular wine producing region, and that you think, oh, if I'm going to get into wine, I need to be either in France, Italy, or Napa. At least that's what I thought. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you that Washington is producing great wine,
They've really got it going on.
and this is proof.
I kind of thought Oregon was like my jam for like, okay, that's the next thing.
Well, they're all about the Pinot Noir.
yeah,
Pinot Jam.
but we've had a good amount of Washington wine now, and I'm really into it. I think it's
Yeah.
if I say I had a bazillion dollars, I think I would actually put a winery in Washington.
Yeah.
well, the climate there is more akin to like France than you would in
Yeah.
something like Australia's totally different climate
Yeah.
than you're gonna have from the Rhone region.
Warmer, drier.
And we've done this a few times now where we have three bottles, one from like the origin, France or Italy or whatever, a New World being Australia, Chile or something like that, California, and then something from the Northwest. And it's always a balance between those two extremes. So you have it's delicate, but it's got more potent nose to it
Yeah.
than the Rhone.
Yeah.
It's got some of that pepperiness, that smokiness. It's interesting mid balance between the two wines.
Did you
Yeah.
say how much this cost?
It was in the 20,
Like 21,
20
22?
low 20s. On the site, they say that it's $32. So it
Oh wow,
It's
that's
a-
retail though, right?
retail, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's again, Syrah.
Well, all right.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
But
Third bottle, you bought it.
We had three Syrahs / Shiraz, they're all really good.
Yeah.
And if we had the right food with them, they're probably the perfect pairing,
He means
right?
meat. It's all right. You can say it.
But
I don't judge.
they're all good. They're all good.
I think I would buy. Not that you asked me, but I'm going to go ahead and answer.
Well, what would you buy,
Because I'm
Ann?
Ann Spectator. Okay, so I would buy the Rhone to age. I would like to put that in my wine
the
cellar
French one.
and
Yep.
try it 5 years, 10 years down the line.
Like buy multiple bottles and then open
buy
a
a case,
bottle
probably.
every
Buy a case. Have one every
Yeah.
year.
or 6 months.
And then I think that I would just drink more Walla Walla tonight.
Right.
Another bottle,
Like you
I
could
would
have
open
that with
it.
popcorn. You could have it with anything.
And see, that's
Yeah.
kind of funny because it's the youngest, or 2012.
Right.
So it's only 3 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know how much these are structured to age, the Washingtons.
I don't know anything about
It's
that.
high alcohol. So
So,
I
yeah, I'm
have
sure
a
it
feeling
could.
it's like, we're going to want to drink these younger.
Yeah. But I would also buy the Australian occasionally because what I really loved about that one was its soft mouthfeel, like the thickness of it. I appreciated that about it. So I liked all three of these. There's something about this Walla Walla, though, that I just want to keep drinking tonight,
Yeah.
right now.
Good amount of tannin on the Amavi too, but it's not overbearing.
See, I think that the Australian was the most seductive, but I like,
I see it.
I like the sweeter. Not
Well, it's
that it
because
was-
you love that Magic Mike movie.
Yeah.
Well,
And not that
this is
Australia
like the fourth
wine
podcast
is a
we've talked
jam
about
bomb.
that.
It's just
but yeah.
I like the
Maybe she
long
really likes
spice
it.
finish and the fruity flavor and the brightness without being like weak. It was like lively and bold and just kind of.
Yeah, don't be
It
fucking
Maybe-
weird at
sweeps
me.
you off your feet.
Maybe you just really like Shiraz. And
What?
that can be.
It could be. I mean, I've said it before in the podcast that I'm not a really picky drinker, but I really like this one.
You should, as an experiment on your own, get a bunch of Shirazes
I would love to
and
do that.
see if if you just really like that. Certain people like a certain thing, and it would be fun to Amy loves Shiraz.
Right.
Jason hates Syrah. Yin yang.
I have had a Shiraz that was almost too fruity, but it was like one step away from being like a Manischewitz like fruit juice.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So that has
Sounds
happened.
like that's gone bad.
That has happened. This is not that wine.
No.
It's the Chook from Australia.
What do you think? Should we
I think
should we close it up here?
Think we
So,
could button it
have
up?
we convinced Mr. Sheridan that this is?
I just don't know what it is about it.
You used to be of the mindset where you were like, Shiraz, no thank you, I'm out of here. And now would you at least say that you're more amenable to a Shiraz?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like
more
if it
amenable.
was-
We've arrived
if
at
you-
more
if-
amenable.
If
That's
you
a
weren't
success.
opening your wallet, but it was being served.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
If this is what we had to drink, goddamn right, I'll drink it.
Then I think that the work is done.
I think we're done here, and we have a rhubarb pie waiting for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's summer in Wisconsin, and we're just trying to put it all in our face.
Right.
Right.
Because
So-
we got to get it while the getting's good, because it's not going to be here for much longer.
We have 7 minutes. Go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's been Wine Wars Podcast for this week. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Wine Wars Podcast. And be sure to visit us on our website, winewarspodcast.com, to review the wines we talked about today or whatever. And if you want to weigh in on this episode or a future one, or you want to correct anything we said here today, email us at winewarspodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes. Yeah. Anything else?
We're on Instagram.
And Instagram, where there's a lot of doodle pictures and wine pictures and nonsense.
I think we're going to start a Vivino account as well. So for those that don't know, Vivino is an app you can get on your phone to take a picture of your bottle and get a bunch of other people's reviews. It's like Yelp for wine. So I
That's
think
the best way to advertise it.
You know, it should be called Slurp.
It
Yeah.
should be.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
We're going to have to
Maybe
edit
the
that
beer
out and
people
start
got
our
that.
Slurp account.
But you can hop on there, follow us, and then we'll put our reviews of all of our wines so you can get our notes, follow up later after you listen to an episode. So if you're in the shop and you say, what were they talking about, that one from Australia, you can look up our account and see what we reviewed.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Vivino, I believe is what it's
It's a
Yeah.
very cool
Yeah.
app.
Yeah, yeah. All right. It's been real, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. We love you. And until next week, remember,
It's just grape juice.